In John 15:10, we're going to deal a little more with liquid verbs and learn a little bit about textual criticism. Eon, tas entolos mu, te reseta, meneta, ente agape mu, kathos, ego, tas entolos tu patros mu, te tereka, kai, meno, autu, inte agape. If the commandments of me, my commandments, te resita, again, you're looking for a subjunctive, and there it is. So it's your aorist subjunctive. So if you keep my commandments, so what's this? Well, you have the root men, and you have the second person plural ending te. When do you get a diphthong here? The clue, of course, is it's a liquid verb, right? So what do you have? You have the liquid future, which is this. For liquid verbs in the future, the tense formative is epsilon sigma, followed by the connecting vowel epsilon. And then you have an intervocalic sigma, which drops out, and the two epsilons contract to the diphthong epsilon iota. And so it means you will remain in the love of me, in my love, just as I, the commandments of my Father, have kept. This time it's a perfect indicative. Just as I have kept my Father's commandments, and I remain autu inte agape. Now, normally you would expect the possessive to be after it, wouldn't you? And I remain in his love. But what you have here is a good example of how Greeks can change the word order to emphasize something in a nuance level. So, I have kept and I remain his love, in his love. So the emphasis here is on God the Father. Now let's just do a little bit here with textual criticism, again, to emphasize that you never talk about variance without talking about the significance. This raised O means that the following word is omitted in some manuscripts. So it's remain in love, or remain in my love, but the reason that's not important at all is that the article can function as a possessive, and so even if mu weren't in it, you would still translate it is remain in my love. The other thing I wanted to point out that this symbol indicates that the following word has a variant. And again, if you have accordance or any of these programs, you can see, put your mouse over it and look down, and you can see that there are some manuscripts that have kago. So you have kago instead of ego, and you know that kai and ego together form kago. So in other words, whether it says ego or kago, you still translate it exactly the same way, just as I, or I also, have kept the commandments of my Father. You don't need the kago to bring any emphasis because you have a personal pronoun that is bringing a slight emphasis to it being, I have kept my Father's commandments and I remain in his love. So again, another example of how you don't ever talk about variance without talking about significance. In these variants, there would be no difference in meaning if you had one of the other readings. So if we can phrase this, if you keep my commandments, then here's your punctuation and your main thought. Remain in my love, punctuation, conjunction, just as I, the commandments of my Father, have kept, and another conjunction, and I remain in his love. So as we've been doing with these third-class conditional sentences, we're going to indent it a little. And I'm going to put kathos in its own line because it is a connective that's important. So he's saying that to the disciples, he's saying, remain in my love. And he's saying, I'm not telling you anything that I don't also do myself. Just as I have kept my Father's commandments, and, oh, by the way, I remain in his love. So you have your main statement, remain in my love, and then the encouragement is that Jesus, because he too has kept the commandments, remains in the Father's love. You know, another way you could do this, if you really wanted to emphasize the parallelism, is that you could get some separation here. And this phrase, egotos entelos, is really conceptually parallel with the aeon up at the top, right? So it's, if you keep my commandments, then remain in my love, just as I too have kept the commandments of my Father, and I remain in his love. So you may want to find a way to emphasize this line and this line. They're not grammatically parallel, but they are conceptually parallel.